Hey everybody, welcome to Module 13. We are in the teens and moving right along, which is exciting. So this is the first module that is completely outside the scope of our textbook, right? And I hope that you guys find a benefit of me doing that. And I'd love to have some feedback on that. There are other theories-based textbooks that do include contemplative psychotherapies as part of their overall review of therapeutic approaches. Corey does not, for whatever reason. We won't hold that against him, of course, but maybe there just wasn't time and space in the textbook. But I think that because there, I think in the past decade, if not longer, has been kind of a resurgence and understanding and embracing of contemplative psychotherapies, the use of these practices within the counseling world, with our clients, with ourselves, with everybody out there, I thought it was important to include this as a potential theoretical orientation. Although a lot of times counselors will use it in more of an eclectic way, right? Bringing in some of these practices into their traditional counselor-client relationship, into their practice as a supplement in more of an eclectic way. So I thought it was important to focus on them. I hope you find the material enjoyable. I was not going to overwhelm you with a good with all the readings that are out there. I mean, contemplative psychotherapies, contemplative practices have been around forever. I mean, really, truly forever. And so, you know, I encourage you, if this is something that you're interested in, if you're interested in learning about more, you will find ample amounts of research, textbooks. Go to the ACA website to look for supplemental materials. But I really wanted to provide just some more recent articles for you guys to review as part of kind of the supplemental reading for this week. The one that is more recent that you can thank Joelle for, the WVU School of Medicine, School of Public Health, sorry, did a study around meditation and Alzheimer's disease, and so I included that work within this module as well. I always think it's important to highlight any kind of work that the university you're attending actually does and how it's benefiting our communities and the world in general. And then there's also a good amount of material within the multicultural and social justice considerations folder, including a podcast, which I'm not going to sit here and use my 40 slide PowerPoint. I'm not going to take up all that time. I thought it's good information and good content to review. I just want to drill down on some of the most salient points for today. But if you're going to take some time out and listen to a podcast, that would be a good one, I think, to review, and keep an open mind in terms of these contemplative practices and their very close connection to social justice and ethics and our duty to care for each other and love each other without judgment. I mean, those are kind of ingrained in the framework of multicultural and social justice practices and contemplative practices and counseling. So it all really works well together and ties up well together. And yeah, so again, these practices have been around, I don't want to say since the dawn of time, but I mean, heck, I would not put it past the Neanderthals to sit there and in the quiet, peaceful world that they may have lived in to reflect on their current state and the peace and quiet around them. But contemplative practices have been around for quite some time. And I think, you know, now we have the technology from kind of the medical model side, the medical world, that shows us that some of these practices, all these practices, are effective for individuals who have a range of issues going on, whether it be trauma or illnesses or disease, Alzheimer's, memory issues, cognitive issues, from young kids that like at my children's preschool daycare facilities, they offer Tiny Trees Yoga, which is yoga for 2-year-olds. And so I get to see my daughter come home and do, you know, the tree pose and tell me how I need to work on my breathing. So we see it from a very young age being used and being effective for helping children with attention issues, with childhood trauma that may have been experienced, all the way through into you know, using it within school systems, there have been different schools in America that have replaced detention with meditation and really trying to get students connected to themselves, be more aware of who they are, their consciousness, grounded in the here and now. We see it being used with middle-aged people, adults, you name it. So a whole range of demographics, individuals from different demographic categories can benefit from these practices. And so we are able to see now through modern medicine that these techniques work. It's not an overnight process, of course. It does take some time. It's a practice and it's termed that for a reason, right? So the intent is that we incorporate these different techniques into our lives, or we help our clients do that, or facilitate that process for our clients, depending on how deep you're getting into it, so that they are able to be more present and mindful when they're outside of the counseling environment. In terms of additional training, of course, lots of additional training out there for contemplative practices. Yes, it is a little bit difficult to kind of sift through the muck to find, things that are valid and meaningful. Can somebody incorporate, kind of again from that more eclectic perspective, can you incorporate some of these practices into your just general counseling that you're doing with clients? Again, I would say you need to have a little bit of training on that and how to do that, so you're not doing any harm to clients, so that you're well aware of the potential risks associated with doing certain things. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with recommending or referring people to others in your community that do provide different services outside the scope of what you're able to do. But I've had colleagues that, when working with like a client that is experiencing high levels of anxiety or stress, or maybe their schedules don't permit, they have to travel straight from work and sit in gridlock traffic for an hour and come right to the counselor's office. This was one of my old fellow classmates. She had a client that had to do that, and so every time the client would come in, they would kind of be a heightened state of anxiety because they just got out of tons of traffic. And so in an effort to kind of get the counseling session moving in the right direction, we just do a quick 5-minute guided breathing exercise with their client to help kind of ground them in the moment and get them focused on why they were there, why they were present in that therapy room. So there are things that you can incorporate that I think don't necessarily require you to get extensive training, don't require you to have to, add additional letters at the end of your name, don't take years to get. But certainly if you are interested in really integrating different techniques into your practice, seeking out additional training is useful. Yeah, so again, from an evidence-based practice standpoint, because these concepts have been around, these practices have been around for such a long time, I think there was a bit of validation in that, right? If these things did not work, why would they have sustained themselves for so long across so many cultures as well? But now we're able to kind of test these theories out, test out the effects on our brains, on our behaviors in a more concrete way, a more measured scientific way that shows us that these practices do work and are effective. So yeah, I think that's, again, highlighting the key points of contemplative practices this week. I look forward to hearing from you guys, kind of consider how you have used these practices in your own personal life, if they benefited you. If not, if you see yourself using them with clients on the road, what additional training you might need to consider in order to do that, how this all speaks to you and how it relates to your eventual selection of theoretical orientations or orientation. And so I will get back in and look forward to that discussion with you as we go throughout the week.